Do you have questions on any part of this warm-up? Do you have questions on any part of this warm-up? Because this, for the 5th time, is going to drive your lesson today. If you struggle with this, you'll struggle today. Okay? Because this is what we will be doing the whole entire time. So hopefully you found, at least maybe when I gave you one chart, you were able to do the next chart. Because all you're doing is writing it with the base of whatever we asked you to write it as, and you're going to see why. So let's talk about this new thing that we're going to do. Your quizzes should be in by the end of the day. They're graded. We just did not put them in yet. So they'll be in by the end of the day. So this is kind of like how we solved logs, but now we're talking about exponents. So solving exponential equations, we use properties of exponents to simplify if needed. So for example, if I had 2 to the x and then times 2 to the x again, I'd have 2 to the 2x. Now we aren't going to get into that situation here, but let's move on to step 2. We want to rewrite both sides with the same base. If they don't have the same base, you can't drop the exponents, which is step 3. So just like we had log equaling a log, we were able to drop the logs. Now if we have exponent, exponential, and exponential, and they have the same base, we can drop them as well. So for example, A. Do they both have the same base? Yes, so we drop them, they're gone. And all I have is 6x equaling x plus 10. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy, solve it on your own. If you're good at solving equations, this is your section. You should have gotten 2. Do you have questions on that one? Okay, now go ahead and do B. Same exact thing. We have the same base equaling the same base. Same base equaling the same base.
Guys, a very good question was brought up. Do we have to check for extraneous solutions? Well, let me ask you this. Are there any numbers that we cannot have as an exponent? Can you have 0 as an exponent?
Yeah.
What's 2 to the 0?
Anything to the power of 0 is 1.
You can.
You can't, you have 1/2.
So the moral of the story is that any remember, okay, so let's talk about this. Here we go. Good question. Exponential, what's the domain? Negative infinity to a positive, which means I can have any x value. That's why it's that. When you're done and when you're done only, take a look up. Questions? All right, so it looks like you're doing okay when an exponent equals an exponent with the same base. Now let's talk about when we don't have the same base on both sides, and this is where your warm-up comes into play. So we simplify, there's nothing to simplify, but we can change the base and rewrite it. So is there one of those numbers, 8 or 2, that can be rewritten as each other? Yeah. How can I rewrite 8 with a base of 2? Good, so I'm going to go off to the side and say 8 equals 2 cubed, just for the sake of notes. Again, eventually you might be able to just fly by this and not have to write it all out, but for the couple of them, we're going to write them all out. So this technically is 2 cubed, and that 2x is still going to be there. That 2x is still going to be there. Yep, and then I have 2 to the 2x minus 1. Do you have questions on that part? Okay, drop them and go ahead and solve. Take a minute with your group or alone to solve. The moment you have the same base, you can cancel them out. You will get fractions a lot in this part.
X equals -1.
We'll find out. What's wrong? No, logs can't be negative. When you're done and when you're done only, take a look up. I'll give you a minute to work yourself through it if you did not, and check your answers as well. Do you have questions on this part? Or how we're getting any piece of it? Okay, let's do another one.
4 to the third.
Hold on. Okay. When we look at D, yes, Mike already said it, but hopefully you guys realize I can rewrite 64 with a base of 4. And it is 4 to the third. We practiced that on your warm-up. Okay, so 64 is technically 4 cubed.
Oh wait, we changed the higher number?
Usually you're going to be changing the bigger number, yes. Sometimes you'll be changing both, but in this situation we'll be changing the bigger number. So I'm going to rewrite it. If it's in black, we have not changed anything. However, I'm going to rewrite this as 4 cubed in green, and that 3x is staying the same. So everything in black has not changed. It's just that 4 cubed. Because you're replacing it with a common base. Because once you get a common base, it makes your life easier because we can drop the logs. From here, take it. Easing off. Having you guys do a lot of these notes today. It's just solving. If you get stuck with solving, you need to come in for help. Solving should be second nature at this point. Good. Is it positive one though? What would bring up the negative? And if you're stuck, raise your hand. We'll come to you. When you're done and done only, look up. And I'm not going to rush you, but take your time, finish the problem, then look up so we know that you're ready. Some of you are flying through these. Good job. Okay, moving on. They are pretty close. Now, either way can be done. Some people will be like, oh, I'm just going to put a -1 here to make it 1/6. Or some of you will flip this. Either one's going to work in this situation. Okay, so I'm just going to make it easier on myself, and I'm going to flip this guy. So, use a different color. 1/6 is technically 6 to the what? Yeah, -1, because you flipped the fraction. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that in purple. Everything else is going to be black so that you know that it has not changed. Always make sure when you bring that -1 up, it's being multiplied to the whole entire group that was originally there. So really it just changes the signs, yes. And I want you to take it from here, because again, it's just solving from this point. Take a minute and go for it. Drop the logs, set them equal to each other.
So are multiplying just the -1 and 11 or like?
To both, like you're distributing, yeah. Whenever you see parentheses, you want to distribute. You're going to be getting a lot of fractions this round, so don't feel bad. I gave you the first step. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Did I do this one?
Hold on one sec. You're going to get fractions, just leave them as fractions. When you're done and done only, take a look up. And I want you to try this last one to see if you're understanding it. Try F to see if you're understanding it, because you have not done it on your own yet. Try it now. You have to convert one of them. Again, leave it as a fraction, it's okay. Killing it. Because 10 squared is 100, but then if I put a negative, it brings it to the bottom. Good. Remember, the negative just changes the placement. It makes it from the top to the bottom or bottom to the top. So you have to ask yourself, 10 to what power gets me 100? Well, it's 2. Well, then I have to add a negative in there because it flips to the bottom, so be careful. I gave you the first step. Hopefully you got that without me. Gonna slowly get you there. Should be very easy, very straightforward. Reduce your fraction at the end. When you're done and done only, check your answers. And then flip the page when you're ready. What's up? So, you didn't need to put a 2 here. It was a base of 10. The only thing that you need to do is make this a negative 2. Be careful with that. Because then you can write this as 10 to the negative 2 power. Because you already have a base of 10. So be careful. Is there any questions on this problem before I move on? Okay. Now, these ones are pretty much the same, except for now, they can't be written as each other. 8 can't be written as a 32, and 32 can't be written as 8. So they both have to be changed. What do both of them, what base can I use for both of them?
4.
Not 4, because 4 squared would be 16. I'd never get to 8. But 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do both different colors here. 8 can be written as 2 what? Cubed. All right, let's look at this next one. 32 can be written as 2 what? To the 5th. Very good. And that's why that warm-up was super beneficial for you. Because now you can look off of that. Hopefully you don't have to, but you can if you need it as a reference. Because we did these ones. Now we just rewrite it. And I'm going to do it color-coded so you can see. I'm just replacing the 2 to the 3rd, and that x minus 1 in black is remaining the same. Now with the blue, 2 to the 5th, and that 1 in black is going to remain the same. Everything else is the same. So the only thing that's colored is changing. Questions on that part? From here, we do what? Distribute, drop the log, same thing. So I would distribute, I get 3x minus what? Good, is equal to? Good, good. Go ahead and solve. Solving should be pretty straightforward for you guys. You're juniors, it should be pretty much second nature at this point. When you're done and done only, take a look up. Pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy today. I want you to try B, please. On your own or with a group member. You can do it. Figure out what you can write each one with the base of something. Don't say it, you just work. See if you can figure out what you can write each one as. The hardest part is just figuring out what you're going to write them as.
7 rows.
Lots of fractions today. This one should be a fraction as well. Hopefully you've gotten to this point. See how you guys do. You're done, all check your answer. Don't want to rush you, but hopefully you got that correct.
Who wants to see?
Huh?
See?
Let's do C together. We'll start C together. We're only going to do 2 more, and then we'll go to the review and call it a day, because it's pretty straightforward. Okay, I'll leave that part up in case you still need it. All right, you have to ask yourself again, each one of these, what are the bases you think that we're going to use for these?
5.
5, very good. So 5 to what power gets me 25?
2.
5 squared, very good. And then what about this one?
-3.
Good, -3. Do you have questions on these and how we're getting them? All right, and then I'm just going to skip some steps and show you how, if you are someone that can skip steps, this is how you would do it. You really wouldn't have to write them out like I did in the previous one. Okay, but I'm still going to write out the 10x plus 8, and then that 4 minus 2x in the equal. So in black, nothing has changed. Take it from here. Take it from here. That's why we put it on there. I know I do. Because you should be trying it. When you're done and done only, check your answers. No decimal on that one. How do you feel you're doing on these ones?
Good.
Pretty straightforward, just solving? Okay. All right, so what we're going to do, because you guys are getting it, from what I'm seeing, we're going to go right to the review so you guys can work on your homework. This is the most incorrect question, incorrect answer that we received on the quiz, was number 1 for this review, and that's why we put it on here. It was the mistake on the first page when we asked you what the mistake was. This was it. Because we're doing that for a reason. because it's the most common mistake that we see. And I already saw it when I was walking around today. So, when you have a log equaling a number, you have to convert to exponential. You can't just drop the logs. It doesn't work. Okay, which is very common what we see. When I have a minus sign in between, what does that technically mean I'm doing for logs? I'm dividing. So x squared plus 5 all over 7. The only thing that's not changing is that part in black. Now here, we saw it on the quiz. People were like, okay, cool, gone. That's not what you have to do in this situation. If it looked like number 2 over here where I had a log equaling a log, I'd say yes. But we don't. We have this situation. So this was the heart. 2 to the first power is equal to this whole entire argument. X squared plus 5 all over 7. It's not just 3. Yep. Okay, and when you solve, you would multiply by 7 to both sides. I'd get 14 equals x squared plus 5. Second to last step here, I would do what?
Subtract 14.
I get why you say subtract 14, but I want to get everything away from the x squared because we don't have a middle term. So we want to get everything to one side, all the letters to one side, all the numbers to the other. How would I get rid of this squared? Square root. Now, when you take the square root of something, you get what? Plus or minus. And both of them work in this situation. So we have to include both of them. If you were to go back to your argument, a lot of you were saying that we just cancel all negative answers we get. If I put in a negative 3 here, I get positive 9 plus 5, which is going to be 14. And that's okay. You can have negative answers, you just can't have negative arguments. Here you would just drop the logs, and I would get 8 minus 4x equals 4x. Yeah, and then I would add the 4x to both sides, and I'd get 8 equals 8x, and x equals 1. Very good. All right, we will give you the homework, and you should be able to finish before you